Well, hello everyone. My name is Ban Tien, last name spelled Tien, Assistant Chief, Houston Police Department, right? So what we have is we have a homicide at the 5500 block of DeSoto, which is the apartment complex to my right. So what we have is one deceased female, right, approximately 40 years of age. And also we got two additional victims, gunshot victims was transported. One is a African-American male, approximately 40 years of age, transported to Memorial Hermann in stable condition. We also have a Hispanic female, 30 years of age, is also transported to Memorial Hermann in stable condition. So what we have is at approximately 2:30 p.m. today at this location, 5500 DeSoto. If I want to use this as a reference point, Antoine and DeSoto is a good reference point for this location, right? So one of our officers, HPD officer, working an extra job at this apartment complex, happened to be patrolling the apartment complex and heard multiple gunshots. As he heard those shots, he began to get closer to those shots to investigate. When he walked up, what he found is a African-American male standing over a male and a female, African-American male and an African-American female, and discharged multiple rounds shooting at them, right? Subsequently, he began to confront the suspect to investigate. As he walked up, the suspect quickly walked off, tried to get across the street. At the same time, there's an innocent victim, truly innocent, just happened to be driving by and was slowed down what appeared to be behind me, a speed bump. When the female slowed down, the suspect actually reached in and discharged his firearm multiple times, right? So what we have here is one deceased female and a deceased male, a victim that was transported at the initial shooting, right? We also have a secondary victim who was shot that's also transported. Both the Hispanic female and the African-American male was both transported in stable condition in Memorial Hermann. And it's extremely fortunate that our officer who was working extra employment happened to be at the right place at the right time and investigate the gunshot. As he approached, also we're extremely fortunate, our outside law enforcement partner, our Constable Precinct 1's deputy, was also investigating a separate assault and disturbance at the convenience store down the road behind you guys in front of me, right? At the intersection of Antoine and DeSoto. So they also responded and assist to take the suspect into custody without any issues, right? Now let's be mindful now. So it's roughly around 2:30, 3 o'clock, and you can look to my right. The apartment is extremely densely populated, right? Also at the same time, kids are getting out of school. So it is extremely dangerous. It is so fortunate. We are so fortunate today that it's only one victim and not multiple victims, especially involving kids, right? But as I mentioned earlier, we do have one deceased female victim, and any loss of life is always a tragedy, right? So let's keep the deceased victim in our prayers, right? And please don't try to dig too hard. This is still part of the investigation. The deceased victim family has not been notified, right? Plus, please give us some time to make all the proper notification before you guys try to look too hard to find out who it is, right? Give us the courtesy to notify the family first. And any update will get pushed out by our PIO.
Do we know what led up to the shooting, the nature of what happened?
Yes, ma'am. So that's a good question. So everything is extremely preliminary right now. So what we have right now is we know the same suspect that I mentioned earlier that was investigated by the Precinct 1 constable is also the same suspect causing a disturbance with another group of folks down there by the convenience store, right? So we don't have the time, dedicated to investigate, to interview the suspect yet, right? So as such, it's still preliminary. We truly won't know, what is motivating him to do the shooting until we actually get the chance to talk to him first, right? But our homicide investigators are on scene. And also our crime scene unit with the forensic science team is also on scene processing, right? As you know, it's a pretty densely populated apartment complex. So there's a lot of people around here, a lot of witnesses, right? Potential witnesses. So the homicide investigator is going through, interviewing witnesses, right? As you know, there's also cameras out here too. We have to go to all the cameras, right? And I don't want to make any assumptions, right? And I want to make sure what we come out, push out is absolutely accurate, right? Because, we start making assumption, and it's going to be, if it's bad assumption, that's not good, right?
Now, I have to ask, because I talked with a witness who said that there was a couple that was shot. To your knowledge, I know you're investigating right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you aware of that?
So all we know is a male and a female. Now, I don't know they're a couple or not, but they all together at a time when the suspect was actually shooting at them.
The woman that he shot in the car, was he attempting to carjack her?
Like I said, it's still part of the investigation, right? The female just happened to drive by. He approached it, just leaned in, and started shooting. But this is why we'll never know, right? Because our officers just happened to be working an extra job, happened to be there, and disrupt whatever plot that the suspect was planning on doing, right? So I can't answer the question right now, right?
For those who are living in the complex right now, is there any reason to worry about safety at this point?
At this moment, it seems to be whomever the suspect is targeting is pretty isolated, right? I mean, the suspect, the shooter, right, is in custody, and based on our investigation so far, he is the only shooter, right?
How old is the victim?
The victim is the deceased victim, African American female, early 40s, right, and what believed to be the couple next to the female victim, also an African American male, right, early to mid 40s, right. And the female, the innocent victim, truly was just driving by in a vehicle that the suspect leaned in to shoot at her. She's in her early 30s.
And the woman who was, eventually she passed away, was she a stranger to the suspect? Was she an innocent bystander? The male and female that were shot together?
So that's part of the investigation. That's why our homicide investigator is interviewing witnesses right now. And then also, we truly won't know until we get a chance to sit down and interview the suspect, right? Any other questions?
Yeah, as far as the convenience store, but did he rob the store?
He did not rob the store, what we believe. Again, as I mentioned, we just made it on this part of the scene. We're still working backward to that part, right? What we have is the suspect was having a disturbance with another male and female, right?
So
And
it's outside.
yes, ma'am, at the location. So
The suspect, once officers arrived on the scene, simply surrendered himself?
yeah, that's what it appears to be. The officer, confronted him, getting ready to basically take police action, and then he just walked across the street and surrender, right? And of course, a firearm is recovered, along with a knife too, right? Other weapons involved. So it'll be, it's still a lot to process, right? And I'm pretty sure, the public and also the media has a lot of questions. But then again, as I mentioned earlier, I don't want to make any assumptions so far, right, until we actually thoroughly investigate the scene first.
Any other updates tonight?
Yeah, potentially will be, right? As you know, it's pretty complex right now. We not just have one scene, right? We have like multiple scenes, so I don't want to paint myself in a corner and promise a time where I can't deliver. But please, let me do this. I do want to say this. I know it's tough right now. I know that our city as a whole is going through a lot, right? So I asked the resident of this great city to come together. When you see something, say something, right? When you see a disturbance, call us immediately. Allow us to respond, potentially, interrupt the plot or disrupt whatever the criminal episode may be, right? But we need that, right? We may have some of the better technology out there, and as you know, we're a little short in staffing. The only way we can make this work and to truly make an impact on crime is with the community support. So please, when you see something, please say something.
Thank you, Chief. Do you have an estimated age of the suspect?
The suspect is, as the patrol officer informed me, is in his early 40s as well.
Thank you, Chief.